Today on the podcast, I want to talk about a really interesting company called Bland AI. VentureBeat has just reported that they raised $16 million, but I actually saw them earlier today posting on X saying they raised $22 million. So I'm not exactly sure. Well, actually, I'm sure. I would assume that their official X account talking about their $22 million is more accurate, and Venture probably will update their article. In any case, this is super, super interesting. Break down exactly what they do, because we've actually interviewed someone from a similar company, of a similar company, on the podcast before, and I think there's some interesting distinctions, and I also think this is a massive overhaul, an industry-wide massive overhaul. So I'm going to be breaking it down all the way to the point of criticizing their brand name, but that's me because I got a thing for naming for names, and I'll tell you about that in a second. But first, if you are interested in starting a podcast, your very own podcast, which I think literally everyone should do. I record this podcast on Riverside, an amazing platform, not sponsored, just letting you know. And there's many more amazing pieces of advice and tips about podcasting. I would love to give you my latest podcasting course that I have just released. This is something I'm super passionate about. Just passed 4 million downloads on my podcasts, and have been able to raise money for my startups and do a lot of things with podcasting. So I really do think everyone should start one as a way to set yourself apart. If you're interested in getting a course that shows you how to go from 0 to 4 million downloads and beyond, raise money, get customers for your products, your services, whatever, check out the link in the description for my podcast course. It is 50% off this week. If you are willing to write me a review, if you like the course, of course, then you can have 50% off. The link for that is in the description. And I also have the discount code for the 50% off. Normally it's $300, but we have a 50% off for this week only. If you're interested in starting that course, go check it out. Getting back to Bland, what exactly do they do? This is a really interesting company. So essentially, this is going to be this 20 million they've just raised. This is their Series A. They're emerging from stealth. So this isn't something where they've kind of had a product that's been running for a while, and now they're raising all this money. The emerging from stealth typically means, other than maybe some confidential clients, really no one's been able to use it. It hasn't been publicly available. So it would seem it's now more available. And this is interesting. They're saying that this is your newest AI employee. I think that's a little bit broad, to be honest. Essentially what they're doing, which no tool, but this isn't an employee per se that can do everything an employee does. It has a specific use. So specifically, this is a customizable phone calling agent. It sounds just like a human. So it's got three things. Number one, it can talk in any language or voice, which is really, really impressive. Number two, you can use it for a ton of different use cases for what it's actually talking about. And number three, this can essentially handle millions of calls all at the same time, 24/7. Something I would absolutely love, as I get put on hold all the time for the most ridiculous things. Shout out to my electrical company, my internet company. I feel like it's at my phone company. Honestly, T-Mobile. Shout out to T-Mobile. Shout out to many other people that I wait on hold for. That drives me absolutely crazy. Oh man, Quantum Fiber. That's my latest one. I literally had an hour waiting on hold for Quantum Fiber because my internet was broken. That was terrible. Anyways, so I want every company to use this. This is not like maybe they should. I think everyone should use this. Just if I could go through all of the steps of testing out, it's kind of interesting when I think about, I'll go through a use case of what I've literally just used, which is Quantum Fiber. They had a problem with my internet. I wasn't even actually there. There was some renters at one of my properties, and they had a problem with it. And somehow I got stuck with figuring this thing out. So I called them up, and first off, it was an hour on hold. This could completely eliminate that because it can do unlimited scalability. By the time I got on off of hold and was actually talking to someone, they're like, okay, can you reboot the device? What color is on the device? There's all these very basic questions. You know that they have a very specific script they ask you for it. By the end of it, we did everything that they asked, and they're like, okay, sounds like your device has a problem. We're going to send out someone. When can we schedule a person to work this time? Is there someone available? Blah, 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 blah. They go through everything that agent or that customer service representative did was very replicable. It came off of a script. It came off of like precedent. It came off of, this is just what they do every single time. So using a tool like this, which I'll show you how to kind of work it, would be absolutely perfect to essentially replace that entire process, and have this AI be able to take over the phone calls. Now, you should go check it out. Blend.ai is their website, just to hear kind of the quality of the voice. They have a demo where their CEO is talking to it or whatever. But what I do love is you kind of have a note platform when you're actually building this out for what people are like, what they say, and how the call is going. I think it's building out like I'm thinking, unless it's like someone had to program this, but in any case, it's like, it asks who they're speaking with. It says they're talking about this product. It says, introduce yourself. It has like funny prompts. It's like, introduce yourself, be a little cocky, elaborate on your technical abilities and industry use cases. So you can actually put prompts in there for exactly how it's going to act. And I think this is just essentially running off probably GPT 4.0 for the actual language. But it's interesting because depending on what they say or do, there's different prompts of how it should respond. Anyways, it's just this giant flow chart of, depending on what their situation is, what it should do. And I'm assuming if it's like, if someone asks for something that's outside of its use case, it could either transfer them to another department. I think that'd be interesting if you have these in multiple departments. I also think it could be very annoying if for some reason, whatever the use case of the user. So I'll give you the downside of this. If for some reason the use case of the actual user is not in this system somehow, or it can't figure it out, it might not know who, it might just bounce you back between a bajillion agents that all think another agent should take care of a specific problem, and it never solves it. That I can imagine would be a whole new level of pain and misery. But to be honest, it's actually no different than when I go through like a bank's, number phone system thing, and it's like, for this, press 1, for this, press 2, for this, press 3, and I like keep pressing it, and by the time I get to the end, like none of the options on the next screen actually apply to me, and I got to go back a menu and try to figure out where the heck. This would be so much better if I could just say, this is my problem, this is what I need help with, and it just knows and it sends me to the right place. So, and then has a thing to help you. And maybe there's still, were they unable to do it, or is none of these the right options? Speak to a customer service. I bet there's going to be a ton of people. It's kind of like when you go through the telephone, like maze menus. And if you push 0, it sends you to a customer service rep. I'm sure it's going to be the same problem where like you call the number, you just push 0 a million times because you're like, please, I don't even want to deal with your AI voice thing. So I can see that being potentially an issue, but I also can see how this is 10 times better than what we have now. So is it perfect? Maybe not. So there should probably be some things in place, but it's pretty dang good. So in the demo that I watched of Bland AI, was very impressed. It was able to explain what it was, had a full conversation, and was able to kind of, they also showed the thought map, or I think it was sort of pre-programmed to some degree of how it was responding to questions. So overall, I think this is a really, really interesting company. Now, this is very similar to a company that we recently had a podcast called Thought, which is an AI company that's essentially doing very similar things, right? You could kind of program some stuff and go through some calls, call menu using AI where it's talking to you. They do 10 cents per minute when they're talking on the phone for you. That's just what they do. I think that's kind of interesting. I'd be curious what Bland's actual pricing models are. So that'll be interesting to see when they roll it out. Overall, if you go to Bland's website, it looks like it's you can actually type in your number and have it call you. So I thought that's a very clever demo you could kind of do, right? Everyone wants to try it. So usually you're testing out software on their website. They literally let you call you. It looks like it's got a lot of stuff ready to go, and actually get started, or at least contact them right now. I think their big push is obviously that's who they're selling this to. So you go to their site, it's gonna ask you to fill a form, and you can submit it, and I'm assuming they'll call you back. So it's not like a software you can just like sign up and start building a thing. Sort of like Thoughtly. I think Thoughtly is more immediately ready to be used. So anyways, companies, Bland, I think, has raised money, so it kind of has like that thing where whoever raises the most money gets talked about the most in the news, I feel like. But I would say don't leave out Thoughtly, because that's also a very interesting company. Who started Bland.ai? That's the big question a lot of people want to know. So right now they've raised $22 million total. And I guess that's probably what Bland was talking about in their Series A, but I think that maybe this most recent Series A is $16 million. That's what VentureBeat is saying. But honestly, when I'm looking at their LinkedIn post, their X post for Bland AI literally says, "Today marks a major milestone for us. We've closed our Series A with 22 million in funding." Maybe it was kind of a rolling Series A and they just kept adding on to it. So I don't know. Maybe that's also kind of common. So I guess in any case, raised $22 million, and they've raised it from Y Combinator, PayPal founder Max Levchin, 11 Labs, Piotr Debkowski, and Twilio founder Jeff Lawson. So there's a bunch of other people, but I think this is a pretty solid group. They have some legends from Silicon Valley in there. This was founded last year, back in 2023, and essentially, they're just trying to all enterprise phone calling communications. There are millions of phone calls going on every single day. So this is a massive industry that's going to be disrupted. This is what their CEO, co-founder, Isaiah Granite, said about this whole thing. He said, quote, "Our mission is to fix the way businesses handle their phone communications. The problem is that humans simply can't work 24/7, handle millions of phone calls simultaneously, or be trained to a company's exact liking down to its voice and behavior. But AI can at a fraction of the cost. We want Bland to work alongside enterprise employees to improve efficiency across the board." Something interesting, he said in this is like, we want it to work alongside their employees. I think a lot of people are quick to be like, this won't replace everyone, where in reality, if this works and it's scalable, it's going to replace 99% of everyone. And the reason I say that is because this is literally what Klarna has recently been doing. Theirs more was like text, but you can imagine Klarna, sure, why not? Why wouldn't they add something like this to do audio? But Klarna, which is like a buy now, pay later provider, they have they used to have about 700 customer support agents, and they implemented some AI, ChatGPT, custom fine tuning stuff that essentially was helping them to be able to, get all of their customer support done with just AI agents. And the results were pretty crazy. Essentially, I think they said they were able to massively cut down all of their costs. I saw somewhere that they let go of something like 33% of all of their customer support people, and they planned on cutting maybe 1,000 more or something this year, because they're able to cut down on this so much, or I think 1,000 employees or something. So of their workforce. So in any case, I think this is very interesting. I know a lot of people don't like to have that conversation about how AI might actually like be completely replacing full departments and people's jobs. At the end of the day, if it's possible, people are going to do it. So like it or not, it's going to happen. And it's just, how are we going to respond? Is this, your job that might be threatened? What other areas could you work in? Or is, this something that could impact your business positively, negatively? It's all important questions to ask. But overall, I think this is going to be a net positive if AI can do something. I, for one, think that a customer service agent would be an incredibly taxing, stressful job, having people frustrated and upset with you. And if AI could do that and, take some of that stressful communications and interactions with people off people's plate, I don't know. I think that there's all sorts of maybe come from that, but that's just me. In any case, very interesting company, Bland.ai. If you learned something new on the podcast today, I would love it if you would be interested in leaving us a review for the podcast. It would mean the world to me. Make sure to check out my podcasting course if that is something that you're interested in starting. The link is in the description with a discount code for 50% off. Hope you all have an incredible rest of your day. I will talk to all of you next time, and I will see you on the other side.